Welcome to the Abundant Accountant Podcast. This is where accounting professionals just like you come to learn all the most efficient, powerful, abundant ways to grow their firm, sharpen their sales skills, and have consistent, increasing revenue year over year. I cover topics from pricing, sales, networking, objections, ideal clients, some marketing ideas, and really about how to increase your cash flow and profitability and set boundaries so you have the firm that you've always dreamt of. You're no longer giving away your time for free. You're no longer putting yourself on sale, and you are being paid for the value and worth that clients actually appreciate you for. So you'll learn tips and strategies as well as hear personal interviews from successful accounting professionals. This podcast will show you exactly how to create the firm of your dreams and the life full of abundance. Welcome back to the Abundant Accountant Podcast. Today, we have a very special guest. Our special guest is Shannon, and her last name is Weinstein, but we're not related. She is a CPA. She runs 100% virtual practice, serving small business owners looking to grow online. She offers monthly accounting, CFO services, tax strategy, but her unique approach has enabled her to really grow the practice to a little over $200,000 in revenue in just 3 years and quit her full-time job 100%. She lives part-time in Connecticut, part-time in Costa Rica, and is 100% remote. I think I said that already, but just want to reiterate that. She says the best thing about running her own practice is getting to choose the clients that align with her goals. So she's showing up with as much enthusiasm as possible all the time. But before we welcome Shannon to the show, it is probably absolutely nuts to think that most of you think that increasing your fees will lose your clients or will get your client roster diminished or might lower your revenue. And I know, everybody thinks that the way to get more clients is to probably discount your fees to your current clients, but it's not true. All of the clients that I've worked with who own an accounting firm, bookkeeping firm, profit first firm, I work with them to increase monthly revenue by as much as 3 times by following a much newer and far simpler method. I'm sure discounting fees, getting as many clients as possible, sending out proposals, and thinking someone might respond to you will increase your firm revenue by working harder, taking on those clients slowly, but it's actually a total struggle. So if you're willing to peel back the onion and look behind the curtain and get to some of the truth about what's not working in your firm, then I invite you to book a call over at theabundantcall.com with myself or my partner, Denise. We would love to explore the possibilities and really what's holding you back from doing exactly what Shannon's going to be sharing today. So once again, head on over to theabundantcall.com to grab the first spot you see, and we look forward to speaking with some of you very soon. Now, let's welcome Shannon to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. And I have to say, I love your last name.
I love your last name too. I mean, I hope my last name changes soon, but we do have the exact same last name. So that's pretty cool. And that you're a CPA and that we have connected. And now you're here on the Abundant Accountant Podcast. So welcome. Can you share with everyone a little bit about like where you're at? I know you have your own firm and just like a brief minute overview.
So I have my own practice. I've been doing it for about 3 years and I built it while working full time. I didn't make a huge leap. I kind of made a jump from rock to rock across the river, so to speak. It was not too crazy. So, I've been building my practice and learning and making tons of mistakes, and it's been a blast and I love it. And that's been the last 3 years or so. And it's called Fitnancial Solutions, actually based on the fact that I also work in fitness and served fitness professionals as my first niche client.
Oh, wow. That's really cool. I was going to say, were you a fitness instructor? Because I was too.
I was. I've been in fitness for 8 years.
Oh, wow. What'd you teach?
Zumba, every variety of Zumba, every flavor and specialty. And I did HIIT, TRX.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, I like that.
Fitnancial. And it's like
Fitnancial.
the logo has a little like weightlifter.
Oh, that's super cool. But I
Yeah.
think it's really important to understand that, yeah, you have to have your fitness right in your business and in your finances. And it's very similar to being like a pro athlete. And I was at a thing this weekend and they were talking about how your protective armor, like your helmet, is your mindset. And if your mindset's not right, then you're not going to have the right helmet on when you get punched or knocked over. And so, how do you not have a business concussion? And having your mindset in alignment and having that protective armor around your head is everything in business. And I believe the fitness side too, but I know today we're not talking about that. Today, we're really going to talk about, how do you communicate your value as a CPA to potential clients? You're 3 years in, clearly you've made a lot of mistakes. And we have a lot of value discussions here on the Abundant Accountant podcast because everyone here, I think, wants to improve profitability, increase their revenue, and not feel like a commodity and, run over by a bulldozer by their clients. And I think Shannon's done a really great job at that. And there's so many angles on when we talk about communicating our values. So we're going to talk about 3 of them today. So I know a lot of you like to listen to the podcast while driving or maybe going to the gym and getting your fitness on. But it is important to grab your notepad from your phone or maybe the yellow or white one sitting at your desk and a pen and take some good notes because I know Shannon's got some great stories today. So when you were starting out 3 years ago and learning what to do and what not to do and making all those mistakes, what do you think was the first real thing you had to change? And you're like, you know what? If I don't make this change, I will feel like I'm undervaluing myself. I'm going to have to start justifying my fees, maybe even giving out discounts and other things that we do, and feeling like we have to take on every single client that we work with. What was that for you in really being able to communicate your value as a CPA? And if you're not a CPA, this will also work if you're an EA or a bookkeeper or profit first professional, or maybe you just have an accounting firm and you're not a CPA. But if you are and you want to get that value across, what's the first thing you had to do, Shannon, in your firm?
I had to learn how to say no. I had to stop saying yes to everything and start thinking strategically about whether a client, a decision, an opportunity really started aligning with my goals for my business. And it did take a while though. And I think I probably, in my first 6 months to a year, I'll say, I said yes to everything and that was wonderful. But I had to ditch that habit after a certain period of time when you take the training wheels off, because you now have enough opportunities where you can afford to say no, but you haven't stretched that muscle. So I think that it's really important to learn how to exercise that no muscle sooner in your business than you think you need to. And I think that, the biggest thing for me when I first started out was actually, you mentioned commoditizing our work. It was actually understanding that clients that I was pursuing weren't really buying a tax return, a set of books, a QuickBooks subscription, or, a CFO report. What they were buying was actually just peace of mind.
Yep. Totally.
That was an enlightening experience for me.
And how did you come to realize that? Because, I teach a lot on this, and there's people that will buy to get out of pain. There's people that will buy to get towards their goal. There's people that will buy to have peace of mind. But how did you come to that realization?
A lot of training, a lot of coaches, a lot of people telling me this, and a lot of work on understanding and actually asking the client too, right? Like, why do you value our service? And it was never, you get my return done on time. It was, I know it's handled.
Yeah.
I have peace of mind knowing that it's handled. And I realized that's what they were paying for, because I actually equated it back to, what if someone sold to me and said, I can make you skinny without surgery or a diet. How much would you pay for that? And I was like, oh my God, here's my bank account number, my credit card number. Here's
sign me up, 20 grand, right?
And the funny thing is, that's how our clients feel about the financials, because they just will do almost anything to not have to worry about it. And it made me realize that, we're just not, as accountants, this stuff is actually kind of fun, or at least we take to it easier. And it's very hard to relate to that person who truly has deep rooted financial fear, or I call it an allergy to IRS letters.
Oh, I love it. An allergy to IRS letters. I have that allergy. It puts me in the hospital. Like I need to go to the ER when I see the IRS letter in my stack of mail, which it's getting declined. Like my pile's getting smaller because I've put everything on electronic. I don't want any mail, but still I get mail. But in the IRS letters, those send me right into the ER. Yeah, it's true. I am highly allergic to that, just like I am to shellfish.
Yeah, and it's and that what I learned from all of that was pricing based on value, not on effort. That was my first real
Mm.
kind of hard lesson, was you have to price on value, not on effort. Just because it takes me a half an hour to do an S corp election doesn't mean it's any less valuable to my client who's going to experience immense tax savings from that.
And it's one of the most important ways to communicate your value. I think a lot of times we think, oh, it's based on the amount of time. No, it's not. It's based on all of your knowledge. And if you can do it in 30 minutes and you had that idea and they didn't make that decision on their own before they came to you, and you just made their life better because now they have an S election and they can have a payroll. And I think you guys can do like a 401k match. I'm getting hip to all this stuff. But that's one of the best ways to communicate your value is by also pricing on that value. They don't need to know how long it took you. When you go into surgery, right? And the doctor tells you it's going to be a $20,000 surgery, they don't say, well, it took me 4 hours, 8 hours, 12 hours. If it took them an hour and they got the job done, they got the job done.
Exactly. And it's the same thing with my skinny analogy, right? Like if you could make me skinny, and by the way, I don't advocate any of this like unhealthy weight loss or anything, right? As a fitness professional, but if you could make me fit into like a size whatever tomorrow, I don't care how long it takes you. Like I don't care how long. It's
Right.
all about the results. It's all about
Yeah.
results.
Yeah. Preach. See, I love it. Shannon, of course, because of the Weinstein name and your CPA, is just reiterating everything we talk about here. But I think it's great to come from your perspective. So share with me like a story, another CPA, accountant, EA, bookkeeper, profit first professional, they do whatever services. They're listening and they're like, well, Shannon, how are you able to get past that fear of it's not about the effort, it's about the value? And how do I communicate that? And I get what you're saying, but it's just not working for me. There's no way this is going to work for me, Shannon. I don't get how you can do it and I can't. My clients, they won't pay that much. They don't have a lot of money. Shannon, I see their books. There's no way. That's just not possible. My clients they don't have a lot of money. They can't afford it. They ask for discounts. And, for those of you listening, if any of that sounds familiar, here's the possibility. And Shannon, what was that turning point with that one client where you said enough is enough?
And I have to just acknowledge and say they're not wrong when they say that, but there's a mindset shift, because my question back to that person who's asking that question is, well, who is your ideal client? And are you marketing and selling peace of mind, or are you marketing and selling a tax return? Because if they think they're buying a tax return, maybe they won't pay any more than they think they need to if they Google what does a 1040 cost. My clients are not Googling what does a 1040 cost. My clients know that what they bought is the fact that they can call me, they can text me, they can send me an IRS letter, and it's handled. And I charge based on what I think is fair to compensate me for my time, energy, whatever you want to call it. And it all works out. And I think that people tend to assume clients won't pay me for X. Certain clients won't, but do you want them on your roster? And that's really the next
Yep.
level, is designing your client roster the way that you want to, like it's an NBA all-star team.
Yeah. And you can't have 30 players on an NBA, all-star team. I don't think they have a limit. And each of us here listening, we have a limit in our firms. Yeah, you can scale and you can grow and you can hire other CPAs and EAs and everybody else to help you in admins. But at the end of the day, we all have a ceiling. So how do we maximize that ceiling where each client is, like the top paid NBA player, but they're paying you, by the way, so it's a little reverse, that you have, 20 starters on your team. You don't have any bench players. You don't have, or bench warmers, I should say. They're not players if they're on the bench. They're warming it up.
Yeah, and this kind of goes into my second revelation, so to speak, building my practice, right? And that was that I built a multiple six-figure revenue practice by
do you mind sharing like numbers? Is that cool?
Yeah, so like
okay.
I'll be over 200,000 this year in my third year.
Okay.
And I built that with 7 clients on a monthly basis.
Perfect. I love that. I love real numbers, so that's very for all of us listening, 7 clients. So let's do the math. I don't have a spreadsheet up right now, Shannon, but why don't you share with us the average annual revenue that you're getting from 7 clients? So I'm going to guess you just take 7 into 200,000 and we can guess that's the basis of on a monthly basis what you charge.
So that's a mix of my accounting, tax, coaching, and all my services. So if it's my monthly clients, they're paying me an average of $20,000 to $40,000 a year each, whether that be prepaid or on a monthly basis. So each of them is a source of that revenue. So those are the numbers, and that's entirely possible. Let me tell you, it is entirely possible because I have chosen to go deep and not wide with my clients. I have chosen to be end-to-end support and to get to know their businesses intimately and be heavily involved as a member of their team, as opposed to doing spot services here and there for multiple people. I found that this works better for me in my practice, the way I manage my energy and my efforts towards my clients. I would much rather charge a premium and be able to think about each of my clients every day if I wanted to.
Yeah, and not feel bad about it, right?
No, and that actually is highly coveted, believe it or not, in the industry where I serve. So I serve a lot of online service-based business owners like coaches, consultants, and they love the high touch intimacy because I think that there's this stigma with accountants that they're all old, boring guys who just churn out tax returns and invite you to their office, and you have no idea what they said. You leave more confused than when you walked in, and you don't enjoy the experience. It's like a root canal. And I said, I'm gonna freaking change that. I want you to be excited about your CFO meeting. I start the calls with music playing or, a hype up, and we're going to talk about future planning. We're going to strategize. We go into more than the numbers. We talk about the business strategy. And it lights me up. It lights the client up, and everybody wins.
And it's more fun for you as the firm owner, right? Like you're getting paid well. And Shannon, I want to hear that. I know you have experience with a client that you probably let go of, or you did this pivot, because this is the time where you make these changes when you're absolutely sick, fed up of the way things are going. And you're like, I can no longer do this. Can you share with everyone what that client was for you? Because I'm sure someone listening has that client right now on their roster, and they need to be traded. They need to be traded to H&R Block maybe, or somewhere else where it's more transactional. And you said, I'm going forward. I'm going to build this firm to 200,000 or more. I'm going to do this with under 10 clients, and I'm going to make it happen and do it the way I've always envisioned it, even though I don't believe it's possible, because I'm going to guess there was a little fear and you were slightly terrified making that shift. But what was that client experience that made you go, I'm pivoting, I'm making a difference, I'm no longer going to keep doing it that way?
So I'm an accountant, so I run numbers.
Yeah.
And I realized that I had a ceiling of, well, if I work 80 hours a day, I can make this happen. No, that's not going to happen. So you have to control the variables in your control. And what I realized was that I was never going to build the practice I wanted to, serving small-minded clients with small rates. So I just knew that was not going to be the success strategy. So you get to a point though, and firing my first client, don't get me wrong, firing my first client was absolutely terrifying.
Tell us about that. I want to hear about your first client. I want to hear about how terrified you were firing them, because every person listening has that person that needs to go. They got to go today. They need to go now. They needed to go a year ago. They need to go in order to free up that time, because like you said, if they're small-minded, they're also giving you a pretty small rate. So what was that client for you? Who were they? You can make up a name, by the way, if you don't want to share.
It's totally fine. I'm not going to share any names, but I do believe there's gains in the losses, I call it. So I was going to fire this client. They were, and it was for two reasons. One was they were underpaying for the services I was provided, because frankly, and who can relate to this, I cared a little bit more than they did about the business. I cared more about getting the stuff done. I cared more about the day to day. And I was putting forth all this effort, and I felt like I wasn't getting the energy back or the paid for it, honestly, because I was over serving. And what I realized was that I needed to let them go, but I actually took a step back, and I realized that this was going to be really difficult for me, because this is very challenging for me as kind of a people pleaser, that I decided to get some advice. And I asked other people, the last time you fired a client, how did it go? What lessons did you learn? And what could I do? Like how to elegantly fire a client that leaves you amicable and respectful and it goes well. And this is the advice I got. And this is what I did, right? I went back to telling the client, I'm not adding value for you. I'm sorry, but the way that I'm doing this right now, I'm not adding enough value for you to warrant what you're paying me. Because if this is what you're looking for, you can get that elsewhere. And I was totally honest with them about the fact that I took it back to my core values, their goals, and saying, I'm not going to be able to help you meet your goals if I'm charging you this much. In order for me to really drive results, I have to elevate the service and elevate the fee. And I would tell a client that. Another way I've done it too, by the way, is later on, I actually transitioned to being so comfortable with a price increase that I would just notify clients 60 days in advance and say, hey, effective on 12/31, my price is going up to this, essentially in a very professional way saying, take it or leave it. Because I was so confident that I was delivering on those services that they would not let me go. And I'm proud to say that I have never been let go by a client, but I have let several clients go.
Yeah, because that's how, it comes back down to communicating your value as the CPA that you are, or as the EA that you are, whatever your specialty is, just insert that. And the fact that you're able to do that, I mean, I am all about the letting people go themselves by increasing your fees, but also giving them a reason. We're moving in this direction. I can no longer serve you at this rate, and I'm not adding value to you. That's being very authentic. Now, you could add value, but they're not paying you enough to put more effort and energy into it. And I think it goes back to something you said earlier, that you care more about the business than they care. And if at any time you feel that way with a client, then you're definitely 100% being underpaid. Because the higher amount that a client pays you, the more they value and respect your time. The cheaper you are, and whatever, the tax return or whatever, you are now just another thing. You're a commodity. It's a transactional relationship. There's no skin in the game. There's no meat on the bones. That's your skinny program. But in business, and we don't get what we want at that rate. It just doesn't work. So I think it's a choice. If you want to learn how to communicate your value and figuring that out, you first have to say, what am I willing to not tolerate anymore? And I know that prior, when we were emailing and chatting, it's like setting those boundaries. So for you, Shannon, what are some of the boundaries that you've set that you were able to grow in 3 years to a little over 200,000 with just 7 clients? Because I know someone listening is going, how did you possibly do that and still pay your bills, pay your staff? How, like without what I call scarcity brain. Like, I got to get all the clients. I know you did that in your first year, but clearly you made a shift fairly quickly because you figured out that you have a ceiling and that you run numbers, and every single person here has a ceiling. And you wanted to work with non-small minded or small rate clients anymore. That's probably how you started out. And you're like, nope, that's just not going to work because I ran the numbers. I'm an accountant and I understand numbers. So what were some of those boundaries that you put into play?
Well, for one, I mean, one of the first boundaries I remember putting into play was not allowing people to book a consult with me out the gate. Like, actually qualifying the folks that get to take my time during the week that are elevated and qualified leads. The other part that's a little bit more literal here is, how did I actually do it financially? Like I said, I built this while I was still working a corporate job. And here's the blessing in that, in building your practice. If you're working at a firm, if you're working at a company, I happen to work at a company where I wasn't working in accounting. So I would work there during the day. And then whenever I had the chance to at night, mornings, I would be committed and hustling. I was building this practice. And the beautiful thing is, I had the choice of cherry picking, hand picking my clients that I wanted to work with because I preserved my time. I said, if I have this much time during the week to dedicate to serving these clients to the best of my ability, X number of hours, I want the best of the best that align with me.
Yeah.
And because I had that job to sit on and I had other sources of income, I was, I guess, lucky in that sense. But I look at it as that was the biggest blessing for my business because it allowed me to have those boundaries and to choose my clients not out of scarcity, not out of desperation and saying, because I need the money. I could actually choose who I wanted to work with because I wanted to. And that really set the tone for my business to grow, was really finding the right clients without feeling rushed. And that was huge for me.
Yeah. And that is the kudos to you that you had the cushion in order to do that. And I think a lot of people here, you might be in a job and you're like, I want to go do that, what Shannon's doing, and do it on your own. And you have the ability to do that. Each and every one of you, and I always talk about it, Shannon, every person listening is a genius. You have the smarts that people like me will never understand. I think I got a C in accounting. I have a degree in finance, but the accounting stuff never made sense to me. And I want peace of mind. So if you get really good at giving the confidence to people like me that you will ease my mind so I don't have an allergy to my IRS letters that show up in the mail, you can get paid really, really, really well. And it's just having that belief. And if you have the business acumen that you want to start and get going, and you have a job that can help you pay for funding your startup at the same time and getting your firm off the ground, then you can, jump ship. So when did you jump ship? Did you do it like cold turkey one day?
So yeah, it was a transition for sure. And jumping ship is, that is, a very difficult decision to make. And like, when is that going to happen? It was just this year though. So this was not, this is fairly new in terms of a full-time gig for me. But the beauty of it is that you can you can water this plant, plant the seed, water it while you're working. And it doesn't have to be rapid growth. Like, don't be fooled by these Instagram businesses that are like growing so rapidly. You grow at your own pace at where you're comfortable, and you'll be able to do it 100%. Mm-hmm. People don't, it's not that if you didn't build $1 million practice in your first year, you're some type of failure. Like, it's all about patience, growth, and finding the right clients to work with you. That I could preach that all day long, and really, and managing your time, managing your energy, and making sure that you're, creating the right containers for the right type of work that you're doing. And that was the other way that I was able to grow so quickly, is aligning my time, that I spent X time on client calls, X time on creative work. And I knew when I was showing up at my best, and I leveraged that.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Well, Shannon, thank you so much for being here with us and sharing your story and your journey. And congrats on jumping ship just this year. And to grow a firm on the side part-time to 200,000 with 700 clients is definitely impressive. So Keep up that great work. And I can't wait to hear what you create in the next, 12 to 18 months. Is there anything else that you would love to leave the listeners with, or something we didn't talk about that you're like, I have to say this, Michelle, that would benefit them in really understanding to communicate their value as the CPA, EA, or whoever you are who's listening right now?
I would say this: don't be afraid to literally ask your clients or your potential clients what they value in you. Don't be afraid to ask them what language they're using to describe what you do, because we are so out of touch as accountants with what people think we do, or like what our brand is as accountants. You inherently have a brand with that word accountant.
Yeah.
You got to find out what that means to people so that you can either bust the myths associated with it actively, or you can understand that and play to it to help educate people on what you do and why you're different. It's huge.
It is huge. Well, thank you again for being here with us on the Abundant Accountant podcast. It was an honor to have you.
Thank you so much.
What an amazing, amazing episode with Shannon Weinstein today. I'm so impressed with everything she's created, and congrats on leaving your corporate job. I'm sure that feels freeing, like you're flying through space, just light as a feather. And for those of you that feel like you have shackles on your ankles stuck at your desk job or your corporate job and you're sick of working for somebody else, then you can start your own firm on the side and quit with confidence one day soon. But I think what I want to make sure we really hone in on as we wrap up today, it's designing your client roster. You want an all-star team. We don't need bench warmers on our team. We don't need those dead weights that don't get us to a championship all-star game. So what can you do to design your client roster the exact way you want, where you can generate $20,000 to $40,000 a year, either having them prepay you or charge monthly per client? It is completely, entirely possible because you are all a genius. You are smart. You are intelligent. You've gone through a lot of schooling. You have a lot of experience. So how can you choose to go deep and not wide, just like Shannon did, right? And be heavily involved in the client experience. So what actions do you need to take today in order to either trade your players to someone else like H&R Block or one of them and upgrade so you have all-stars on your team? We all have a ceiling. We all have a capacity, but we get to choose who gets on our team. And remember earlier, I was talking about our protective armor. If we're thinking about the NFL or one of the teams where they have to wear a helmet, think about that in our mindset, and that we need to have strong protective armor in order to design our client rock stars, right? Our client rock stars. Yes, Michelle, that's exactly right. But our all-stars, in order for us to have peace of mind in our own firm. You sell peace of mind to your clients, but everyone here wants to unplug, wants to go on a vacation and not have to deal with the mental chaos that goes on, and have maybe some more excitement for your work, right? And eliminate that burnout that you feel every single tax season, or that burnout that you feel around October 15th or September, whatever, or any of those feelings can dissipate. And I think it's just really important to remember that there is a far simpler way to do that. You don't have to discount your fees. You don't have to get as many clients as possible. And you don't ever have to send out another proposal again. So if you're interested in learning maybe how to do that and pulling back the curtains and getting to some of the truths so you can have an enormous weight lifted off your shoulders, remember to head on over to theabundantcall.com to book a chat with myself or my partner, Denise. We would love to explore the possibilities of working together if we think you're a good fit and we can help you. But at least you're going to have the most valuable hour in your firm that you've ever had working on your business instead of in your business. So once again, head on over to theabundantcall.com, and we look forward to speaking to some of you soon. And if not, I will see you all in the next episode. Have a beautiful day.